Hey guys, Jeremiah Davis here, your funding coach. How you guys doing today? I'm back with another show and another guest. I think you guys are going to really like this. We're going to be talking about the 7 principles of community business. Now I know you're already scratching your head, so let's just jump into it. Let me bring in my guests, Tanya and Jeff Rutledge. Hey guys, how you doing?
How you doing,
How you doing,
Jeremiah?
everybody?
First of all, I want to thank you for coming on and being a part of the show. I think this topic is very interesting for a lot of entrepreneurs out there because we do business in our community, right? And we're trying to promote as many help as many people become entrepreneurs, or if they already are entrepreneur, small business owner, how to connect with the community and just have the mindset of growing, helping each other out. That's what the whole community concept is, right? You shop at the same places, you sell with the same customers. Everybody in the community knows each other and does business with each other, trust each other, and you add value to your community. So I wanted to have you guys on because I've seen your group and the 7 principles, and I was like, wow, we all need to be practicing these. But tell us about your group. Tell us what your mission is, and then let's get into what the 7 principles are.
Okay, well, thank you so much for having us today on your platform, Jeremiah. We're really excited to be here. What the Nguzu Saba 365 is we are a socially conscious organization with really one mission, and our mission is to incorporate the principles of the Nguzu Saba into our daily lives and to encourage people throughout the African diaspora and the U.S. and beyond to do that as well. And if I could take a moment just to explain what in the Nguzu Saba is for most who maybe are not familiar with it. So if you are familiar with the holiday Kwanzaa, you're probably more familiar with these principles than you think you are. So Nguzu Saba means 7 principles. It is a Swahili term. And it was established back in about the 1960s by Dr. Malana Karenga, who studied African principles that spanned that entire continent to look at what were the commonalities between cultures in different areas, different tribes. And he found 7 basic principles, foundational principles that were found throughout the continent, no matter where people lived. And those 7 principles quickly are unity or umoja, Kujichagulia, which means self-determination, Ujima, which means collective work and responsibility, Ujama, which means cooperative economics, Nia, which is purpose, Kuumba, which is creativity, and last but certainly not least, Imani, which means faith.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really, that is. That's awesome because when I read them, I'm a businessman, so my mind went straight there. It's like, we could be doing this, and I think some of us are doing bits and pieces of them without knowing what they are or that there are African principles. So I think they translate or transition into the business world, especially in our community, right? Our community right now is booming with entrepreneurship. Right. And maybe it has been, but I've noticed it now more than ever that a lot of people are becoming entrepreneurs, and our society hasn't trained us to be entrepreneurs. Yes. We've trained to go to school, go to college, get the degree, work a job, pay the taxes, wait till you're 70 years old, then you retire. All right, we're done with that. Okay. I'm done with it. And now my mission is to help as many people become entrepreneurs as possible, because I believe that's where the true freedom is. When you're an entrepreneur and you can provide a service or a product that's needed, and you can take care of yourself and your family and have the freedom to move around. So And faith is a big part because becoming an entrepreneur is a huge leap of faith. So that's the last one. We're gonna get to that. Yeah, I'm gonna try to pronounce some of these, but you know, that's why I got y'all here.
It's okay. It takes a while.
Still working on it too.
Yeah, he's still working on it.
Okay. So let's well, tell us when you started this organization. How was it birthed? You know.
That is a wonderful question. So I'll take it back a little ways. In terms of the principles of the Nguzo Saba, Kwanzaa, and all that. I've been celebrating that since my son is 12, almost 13, and I've been celebrating probably since he was 3. So the last decade or so, I've celebrated. Over time, I started really looking at these principles and thinking like just how simple but groundbreaking they really are. If you think about if we did these things every day, how much better would our communities be? But my issue that came up was the fact that the principles were only discussed for the most part in December, in that 1 week from December 26th to January 1st when Kwanzaa was. And a lot of people didn't even celebrate it. They thought it was this is the Black Christmas or something like that, maybe something that was foreign to them. And so when Jeff and I met, which is about 4 years ago, we married 3 years ago, we talked about this at length. I indoctrinated him into my lair, and we discussed this a lot. And so a part of our marriage ceremony was actually these principles. We lit candles, we made vows in front of ourselves, in front of the Creator, and all of our friends and family, that we would figure out ways for our family and us individually to incorporate these principles into our life. So last year, we got more serious about this. And I told Jeff, I really want people to know what these principles are, because I think if they understood them beyond Kwanzaa and how important they are, that it could make a difference. So last year, at the end of the year, I told him I wanted to establish this something called the Nguzo Saba 365 as just a platform where we talk about the principles, what they are, how to recognize when they're being carried out, and ways in which we can incorporate them into our lives just very simply. And so it started as just making some YouTube videos and not really being sure where it was going to go from there. And then once we got to 2020, the year that the sky fell in, everything sort of evolved in terms of where we wanted to take this. And it really has started to flourish in terms of being able to have really robust conversations on Facebook, and not unlike a lot of the conversations that you hear, but really couching in the backdrop that we want to have these conversations in a principled way. So we don't want to disrespect each other when we have conversations. We want to try to respect each other's ideas, to really critically think about the things that we're talking about. And while we're doing that, we want to sneak these principles in. So we try to figure out creative ways to educate people on what these principles are and how important they are. But we try to do it in the course of some of the conversation. Offline, we have things that we have been in the midst of establishing. Like we have a program called PAC, which is the Principally African Kids Club, where our children in our community can learn about these principles in a very fun, kid-friendly way, so that they can incorporate them into their lives. And so as they grow and they have families and they have businesses, this is how they think. So when they open their businesses, they're not just thinking about what they can make for themselves, what they can do just for their small family, but how could their business add to their community and all of us. Okay. So it really has been a venture that's been less than a year, has went through a lot of ebbs and flows, but we have a definite mission that we want to accomplish.
Okay, great. So what I'm hearing from you, what I get out of that is that not only the principles are where they came from, their African principles, but also that they're universal in application, right?
Yes.
In your marriage, in your community, in business, in a better quality of life, self-reflection, spirituality. So yeah, that's what I picked up when I read them the first time. Like, man, these can be applied to what I'm trying to do, what my mission is, and a lot of people can benefit by incorporating them. So let's just jump on into it. So
Okay.
the first one is Umoja. Is that right? Or Unity. I can say
Umoja. So in Swahili, the U's are just pronounced like ooh. So if it's a U, it's a ooh. But you had it. You had it.
It was Swahili in class, in school. But so okay, Unity and Umoja.
Yeah, Umoja.
Umoja.
Very good.
Umoja.
Okay. All right. So y'all didn't know y'all was gonna learn Swahili. Did see? I got but so give me the definition and to give me one practical application.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so Umoja, as we have said over and over, means unity. Okay, so in terms of the way its founders defined it in that context was promoting unity or togetherness within our people, within our families, within our communities. So if you're thinking practical application, unity when in your business could be something as simple as sharing your resources. So for example, you are the funding coach. You have a plethora of experience in finance that you can share with that you can and do share with people. So there's a mindset of I know something, and it's better for me to just know it and not share it, because then I can do everything for myself. I can make everything for myself. But then there's a different mindset that says, how much better would my community be if the things that I know I share with others?
And let me kind of talk about that a little bit. I'm involved in the financial service industry. I work for United Healthcare, and I also deal with some life insurance as well. And one of the things that principle applies to is people do not think of how their legacy will affect them. And if you are not preparing for how that legacy, a lot of times people that are rich or people that have a lot of money oftentimes give to their communities and give to their families. So part of the unity is having an ability to give something back, their resources, their skills, their abilities, so that their legacy can move on. If you notice, most of the successful businesses had started from somewhere and somebody gave that to somebody else, and either their partners or especially their family, in order to continue on that name or that business. So this is kind of what I do on a daily basis, actually help people on a regular basis kind of get their businesses or their thought process in, because even when they're gone, that is part of their expression of how they share and give unity to their family or to their company or to other things in their community that they may not have been thinking of. I mean, our son goes to a private school, and one of the things that happens in a lot of private schools is there are people that give money and a lot of their money to those schools after they pass on, and that is kind of what this entails. So it's not just something just about we all get along. It's also, what are you doing for the things or the people that have affected your lives, and to leave that legacy so your name and your community still goes on.
Okay, great. And actually, see, in my world, we talk about the term that we use are it's not competition, but collaboration, right?
Exactly.
And one of my circle of entrepreneurs. So we're not competing. We offer some of the same services, but we're collaborating, learning from each other, making our industry better and more ethical and more transparent by seeing all of, because there's plenty of customers for all of us, right? But also, you've been hearing a lot of in our community about leaving an inheritance, generational wealth, things of that nature. That's what I think about. It's like I'm building this so I can pass it on to my son and my daughter, and then they can pass it on to the kids, and they don't have to go through the same struggles that I did financially, but also change the mindset. The mindset of how we've been doing things, has to change. We have to change how we think about. Quite frankly, if I would have known about being an entrepreneur, I would have been an entrepreneur right out of high school.
Right.
Okay, and just went from there. But I'm sure if my parents would have known, and it kind of, I think my grandparents had businesses in Macomb, and that got lost somewhere, and now it's making a resurgence, and now our community is talking about these type of things. But not just in our community, all people are trying to create a better life for themselves and their family and the people that they care about, the people in their community. So definitely great. So let's go to the next one. I'm not even going to try.
my husband always should let him say it.
No, because I always mess it up. But I know what it is when she says it.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I wouldn't. But I'm going to say self-determination. And okay, well, I'm just going to read the definition and you can expound on it. One you sent me anyway. To define oneself or define ourselves, name ourselves and speak for ourselves instead of being defined and spoken for by others. And that's huge because that ties into the previous principle where we're going to dictate our future. All right. And I'll let you take it from there and expound on it, give us a practical application.
Okay. So self-determination, or Kujichagulia, is huge. If you don't have a handle on who you are and who we are, then anyone can define you. Anybody can define who you are, so anyone can limit what you can do. So practical application, I just want to give an example. Our son took a business and finance one-day seminar for Chicago kids, and it was hosted by a woman named Rachel Hannibal. Wonderful. She's written children's books on finance. She's really has done so much in order to influence the financial service industry, not just for adults, but for kiddos. And so when I was listening to her talk, the thing that came in my mind was, man, this is Kujichagulia, this is self-determination, because her speaking to these children changes the face of the way they see what it is they can do. They will not be defined by the fact that they have to be an employee. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with being an employee. I'm an occupational therapist. I've been one for 16 years. I work in nursing homes and done some incredible work. But it really, what I think people are doing now is changing the face of what you can do, and that you don't just have to do this, even though this isn't bad, but there are so many other things you can do. And that to me is just the spirit of Kujichagulia, self-determination, that no one has to define that path for us. We can define it for ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's a huge thing, because a lot of things growing up, you just didn't think, okay, I can't do that. I can't, I mean, my guidance counselor told me I couldn't even go to college. Now I got a master's degree working on a doctor's degree. So, you can't let nobody else limit your potential. And we have unlimited potential. We just need the knowledge and the discipline, obviously, And just I'm gonna throw this disclaimer out there: being an entrepreneur ain't for everybody, because it's not easy. There's no safety net.
Right.
Yeah. So, but
the pandemic taught us that.
Exactly. And then there were some businesses that failed, and there's some businesses that are thriving, even through the pandemic. And then, what I teach is generate multiple streams of revenue. So you're not relying on one. So if something does affect one stream, you got other streams as well. And then having resources, having information, having a good credit, having access to other things that secure your future. So you're determining your future. Okay. All right, let's move on. This was one of the things I was worried about. We're already 20 minutes in and we only got to the third one. So let's see. Number 3, collective work and responsibility. Ujima?
Yes, Ujima. Very good. You got it. See, your Swahili game is tight now.
You take the U.S. Navy, you're taking me around the world and throwing me in different cultures to learn how to pronounce different languages, i.e., it's not difficult. But so the definition you have here is to build and maintain our community together to make our brothers and sisters problems our problems and to solve them together. All these tie together. We've been talking tiptoeing around this one anyway. So go ahead and give us, your broader definition or application.
Well, and that definition is spot on. I mean, it's looking at our communities and thinking outside of here and really looking outside of ourselves and knowing that the problems that are happening in this community are not just the community's problems or somebody else's problems. There are problems. So practical applications. Okay. And like a good example, there is an organization in Inglewood called MASK. It's Mothers and Men Against Senseless Killings. Mm-hmm. And their organization has done a lot of wonderful work in order to bring resources to that community in order to help curb violence. Now, just recently, there were some resources that they had gotten together through some drives that were stolen. Like someone came in and stole it, literally Pampers, laptops, somebody came in and stole everything. So if I'm a business in that community and I'm a part of that community, what is Ujima? The problems that are happening in this community. So the problem that's being faced by MASK, who's working as a non-for-profit to help the community, that's my problem. So what could I put towards that? Is there money that I donate? Is there time that I would donate? Is there a resource that I would donate in terms of looking at the financial situation of the community as to why someone would even do that? That's Ujima, because eventually what's at someone else's door, it will be at your door. If we've learned nothing else in 2020, whatever at someone else's door eventually may come to your door. So if anything, even if it's not a philanthropic or just completely unselfish desire to care about other people's problems, just we need to know that everybody affects us. So working together to solve these problems helps us all as a community.
And I and the translate that for some of my audience is what we do is supposed to make the community better. A lot of the people I work with or interact with are credit repair business owners. Mm-hmm. So when I speak at different events, I tell them that what you're doing is ministry because you're helping the people in the community purchase homes, get a better quality of life. I mean, changing lives literally just by fixing their credit. Yes. But also in myself, with the funding, I learned these resources, how to get not just $5,000 to $10,000, but $50,000 to $100,000, and then how to manage that money to create that business, to grow that business, and not make your life worse by, you get $100,000. Oh my God, what are you gonna do with it?
Right.
Go out, sit down, and let's map out a plan. So within 12 months, you can be generating more revenue, and that leads to jobs in your community, hiring people in your community. That leads to servicing more people in your community. You can do more with the resources to make more money for yourself, but also change the landscape of your community. So it is. It's all of our problems, and that's the essence of being an entrepreneur, is to see a problem and figure out a solution.
Yes.
You know, and then obviously charge for it. But my point is, being broke is so more expensive than having good credit. You know, the money it costs to fix these things is minuscule to the potential and the opportunities it provides you. So let's go on to Ujima?
You said Ujima. You say it again?
Ujama?
Perfect. Ujama. Ujama. That's perfect.
Okay. All right. So that means cooperative economics. Oh, this is my ballpark now.
I was gonna say that's you right there.
To be able to maintain your own stores, shops, and other businesses, and to profit together from them. I just said that. whole thing, but give us your take on it.
So in terms of Ujama, if you are an entrepreneur, generally you have this mindset because you have it, you already have it in you to say, you know what, I need to get my own, and probably you need to get your own, and the more of us that have our own, the better off we will be. But it doesn't necessarily have to be someone's mindset, because when we think about the idea of having your own business, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are of the mindset of having your community benefit from what it is that you're doing and in your business. So if you think about, okay, if you have a business, but you have supplies that you get, you have a photographer, you've got a marketer, you've got someone doing website design. Does the people that you are employing, how does that give back to your community? So it's even more than just owning your own. How do they give back to your community? Who are you hiring? Also, how are you and the other businesses in your community working together so that, okay, I know that you're doing these things in the community, so I'm going to have you do this. And you know that I'm doing these things, so I'm going to have you do that. And beyond that, who's patronizing us? Where are we getting our money from? Because somebody obviously is having to spend with the business. So cooperative economics is probably, of any of these, aside from Umoja or Unity, I think probably from all these principles is one of the most key principles to seeing your community thrive.
And one of the things because in our community, we have people who do this, right, and have that mindset, but we have more that don't. And then there's infighting, that competition, haters, basically haters, crabs in the barrel. Oh, I see you doing good. Let me pull you down. Let me smear your name in the mud, or what have you. And that doesn't benefit nobody.
And let me also say this, because we do this a lot in the financial service and sales that I'm involved in. There's a lot of organizations or groups that get together and share our resources, and I'll just put it in a practical sense of how it kind of works. Like as an insurance agent, I might be dealing with someone with health insurance and life insurance. Well, some of those issues can spill into legal issues. And so there might be lawyers that we have a group of. We might have real estate agents. Usually people who buy a house have now insurance needs. So they may pass their along to in different insurances. I primarily deal with Medicare insurance and life insurance, but there are people who do property and casualty. So maybe if I'm the one who they deal with life insurance, then I can give you somebody who does as an expert on property and casualty, meaning your car and your home. I mean, there's all these type of things that kind of coincide, and there are a lot of groups that work together that specifically will share what we call leads, basically. So you buy a house, and they share that lead with other people who have other concerns. You have a doctor that, you have a baby or whatever, that doctor, you may share that name of that individual, that doctor that helps with that particular, maybe your reproductive needs or things like that, because a lot of these things that we do are together, or they commingle together, whereas like it's not a separate thing. So it might not even just be a competition thing. It just might be, hey, I'm in a legal service that does this specific type of thing. Maybe you can talk to another lawyer who does this specific type of practice, or different insurance people, real estate, mortgage lenders. I mean, I've worked with mortgage lenders to give information when they're buying a house about, who you talk to get the financing for your house. So those type of things can all work together. And a lot of times, if we think about it, these are not even in competition. They're just, I know people who do this. I don't do that. So let me share that information with them so they can help you, because I know other people that they've helped.
Absolutely. That's exactly on point, because and that all this reminds me of, like, whole Black Wall Street. Like, we used to have communities where everything we needed was in the community.
Yes.
Right. And we need that. We need that. We own dry cleaners, own laundromats, own grocery stores, own doctors, own lawyers. All the services that we use. There should be a resource for that. There should be someone that we could go to in our community.
Yes.
So I love this. I love that cooperative economics.
I knew you would love that
one. Yeah, and it gets us out of the mindset of I'm not going to help my brother.
Right.
And that's important. We need more of that. So number 5, and last week's show was all about finding your purpose in business. And this one is, okay, let me try it. I'm going to try it. Nia. And that means purpose. And these are to make as our collective vocation the building and development of our community in order to restore our people to their traditional greatness. All right. That's pretty much self-defined. You can't expound anymore on that. You need to do what your purpose is, and your passion and your purpose are not the same thing. Okay, you can be passionate about something that's not your purpose. You ain't got no business doing that.
Right.
Oh yes.
You should stop. Don't do that no more. Don't. Okay, but your purpose, you're going to get up in the morning and you're going to go do it. Mm-hmm. You're going to stay up late at night and you're going to do it. It's not a job. It's part of who you are. And that is, I think, even more important is so many of us. Your job, if you love it and that's what you always wanted to do, yes, I'm all for it. But were you created to do that? Is that what your purpose is? Your purpose is part of who you was created to do something, provide value to this world, right? Even if it's a small piece, if it's just one person or 100,000 people. But that is you need to find your purpose. You really need to find your purpose, and you'll never work a day in your life.
And let me kind of talk about that a little bit, because this kind of was something that we kind of found in our marriage. As I said, we've known each other for 4 years, and we got married within about a year. well, about 5 now, and we got married within about a year or so of the time that we started dating again. That's a whole nother issue.
Yeah.
But the one thing that being with my wife, and obviously she tries to live these principles. One of the things she found out, or she figured out about me, was my purpose. And I've been a sports official for 25 years, and just to kind of break that down, that means I do football, basketball. I used to do baseball for a long time, and I do basketball at every level except for Division I. And there's a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of energy spent into that. And she would notice that during the times when I was not officiating, that there was kind of a different mindset or different attitude that I would have when I wasn't doing those things. Because basically I would tell people, I even tell people this, even though I'm in the financial services industry, I do that to officiate. And because there's a passion that I have that I've never let go of since I was a high school athlete, and I never went to college and did it, but I wanted to get involved and be a part of that sport. So every time during the fall and the winter, and hopefully we'll get back to that, even though we're kind of taking a break, that used to be my purpose, and everything would be wrapped around my schedule to make sure that I could do that. And yes, it's a business and it brings in a lot of money, but it was never really about the money. It was always about the activity and the being a part of something. It's cool to be able to talk about this with other people who don't understand, like they may have a connection and don't even realize there's a connection to what I do, to what they see, because because I do Division II, I go to 3 or 4 different states doing that in basketball. And it's amazing how many people I've run into that went to one of those colleges or knew something about, like, you've been there, or they'll start asking me questions. And I'm like, yeah, I've been there. I've been to that school, and a lot of the schools that most people wouldn't hear about unless you went to those schools because they're not the major universities. But it's about, it was about being part of something bigger. And the last 2 weekends I've actually spent out of town trying to try out to get opportunities at other levels, but it's like, it's not a job. It's like I get up to do it and find no reason to not do it, as opposed to the other things that I could be doing. Sometimes it's harder to get up because they're more of a job or whatever. And this has kind of been my purpose. And what she kind of brought out is understanding the purpose, because even at the time when we met, which was kind of interesting, I was kind of wondering, like, okay, I've kind of gotten to the pinnacle. I've worked 3 state championships in basketball. I've worked 2 state championships in football. And one of the things I wanted that she noticed is my purpose in that. And I wanted to kind of give it up. And she kind of said, you can't give this up because this is too much a part of you. So it's just things like that. That's kind of where you find your purpose. I found something that's passionate about, and I'm trying to spin it into where I'm making a little bit more money doing it.
Yeah, well, that's what my mind went immediately was, I can show you how to make money right now.
I'm going to need you to do that when we get off this call.
I mean, officiating is a big part of it because that's where your environment is. And we're off topic a little bit, but no, maybe not. But it's application. That it's deeper. Right. It's deeper than just being on the court with the striped shirt on.
Right.
It's interacting with athletes. It may be coaching, maybe a referee coach, or coaching little kids on how the fundamentals of sports. So there's a number of avenues that I think might be, or maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but during one of my coaching calls, we figured that out. We figured out that the love of the sport, of the game, of this of athletics, is what drives you, right? So however you got to be a part of that is by any means necessary. Exactly. You got to be in there, So, but that's exactly what we're talking about. You're finding your purpose, and then you monetize it and you give back to your community, right?
Yes.
Because we can use more coaches in our community.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. Okay. We got 2 more. Okay. Kumba.
You close. You're close. Kumba.
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 Kum.
Kumba.
But it's creativity.
Creativity.
The position you have is to do always as much as you can in a way we can, and in the way we can, in order to leave our community more beautiful and more beneficial than when we inherited it. So, yeah, yeah, yeah. Whatever you do, leave it better than when you found it. Okay? And I mean, it's your family, your business, your community, your relationships, every aspect of life is what I try to do. Right? So what you got, Jeff?
Things should look better because you touched them. You know, things should look better because you were there. Things should be beautiful. Things should work better for people because of your existence. Like, that's Kuumba. So it's not just, my husband and I were having this conversation about creativity the other day, because I told him, I said, I think you're more creative than what you think you are or give yourself credit for. And he said, but I'm not, an artist. I'm not this, I'm not that. You're more of a visual person. And like, it's not that. If you think about the things that you do, even what we're doing right now, the funding coach. So you could be just straight doing what you do in terms of finance, but your vision was more than that. Your vision was, how can I use communications, technology, and visual arts in order to enhance people's lives and expose them to people they never would have seen before. That's Kuumba. That's very creative.
Because I would Jeff. I'm not. I'm an analytical.
Me too.
Yeah. No. And I hire the creativity. I hire the people. My marketing team said, you got to start doing live. I'm like, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do that. But see what we're doing.
Here we are.
Opened up so many other doors, and quite frankly, I don't think I can stop now. But I see where Jeff's coming from, and I see where you're coming from. So just so for the application, my mind goes to, when I'm talking, I'm coaching somebody, the creative juices are flowing, that I'm listening to their words to try to paint them a picture of how they're going to take their whatever they're trying to do. Even if I don't care if you want to start a food truck because you love frying chicken. All right, let's do that. Let's come up with a path so you can get a food truck and you can fry the best chicken and sell it to the people. And and I'm just using that as a simple term, but it doesn't matter if you want to sell widgets or what it is. There's somebody else out there that wants it. They want it. They want your chicken. They want your coaching knowledge. They want my expertise. They want to learn about the 7 principles, or 7 African principles. Community. There's everything. There's somebody out there that's like, I wish I could. Where can I find this? Or better yet, they don't even know they need it.
Right. Oh, yeah.
A lot of people don't know. It's like, man, it's something, but I don't know what it is. I can't tell you how many times I was like, I didn't even know I needed that, but I'm so glad I got it. So, yeah, absolutely, I agree. And now we're at the last one.
You got it. You got this.
Imani. Oh, I thought that was an N. Okay, what's his face? All right, so now we're in my basketball court now. Pardon the pun. To believe with all your heart in your parents, in your teachers, in your leaders, our people, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. Okay, we could do a whole show on that by itself. Sure. Right there. I'm gonna add my 2 cents. Faith is such a huge part of doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Anything. It took faith for you to put this organization together. It took a tremendous amount of faith for me to walk off the guaranteed 6-figure 9-to-5 and do it all on my own. That was crazy, And then after I did it, a year or two into it, I lost everything. So it's like, okay, what are you going to do now? You're going to go get another 9-to-5? You're going to abort this vision that God gave you? Or you're going to, and well, me, most of y'all know I'm in the ministry, so it's a different show. But the voice said, do you hope I will take care of you, or I'm going to take care of you?
Right.
I said, oh, okay. So I have to go study that scripture because I'm wishing instead of relying on faith. The faith is a reassured faith, like it's already done type of faith. Like this is going to work, but you can't give up. And that's the biggest issue I think a lot of people have, no matter what they're trying to do, is they have a dream, they have a desire, but a lack of knowledge, a lack of understanding, a lack of resources prevents them from fulfilling the dream.
Or sometimes just a lack of vision of their own, of what they want to accomplish. A lot of times people allow other people to get in the way of their vision because they want to do something that nobody else did. And I just give a very brief story just from the officiating angle. I've worked 6 state championships. I'm the first African-American to ever do that in the state of Illinois in the 3 sports, or at least to work a state championship in 3 of the major boy sports that's never happened before. And it was my vision early on when I was in my 20s that was something that was going to happen. Now, I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't know what it would take. I didn't know how many years that would come about. But when it finally came about, it was like, I was supposed to have done that. And it actually amazed me how many people were surprised about that accomplishment, because I was like, well, that was what I was supposed to have. But then during that process and during that journey, there was always people saying, you can't do this or you can't do that. And you have to be able to sit and to say to yourself that this is something I'm going to accomplish. And even in some cases, you cannot share all your vision with everybody. That's one of the biggest things I've learned, is that you cannot go around saying, I want to do this to everybody, because there are people who will hear that and say, well, I didn't do that, so why could you do that? Or you're not good enough to do that. Just like you said, you had the counselor, in school that said you couldn't do what you wanted to do. So a lot of times we have to be able to stick to what we want to do. And it's not a short-term view sometimes. It's a very long-term view where we have to say that this is something we want to accomplish. And sometimes, maybe even if we don't accomplish that one thing that we think, like I might have said I wanted to accomplish the state final, but there might be somebody who gets to the Division I level and gets to another level, or gets to the NBA or gets to the NFL, and they didn't do that as other things, but they did the other thing that was out of their reach because they put the effort and had faith in themselves to make that happen. And I think that is so important, because it's a mindset. It's not just it's at first it's a mindset before you set out the plan. You got to have the faith that this is what's going to happen, and then come up with the plan. And the other thing about this, I think, is extremely important, is that you can also change some of that. You may get to a point where you say, well, I wanted to accomplish that, but I know that kind of work is not what I want to do, or maybe it steers me in another direction, and then I can do that. Sometimes it changes. I mean, how many times I tell people all the time, set a short-term goal, a mid-range goal, and a long-term goal. And every so often look at those goals and say, am I on the direction to get to those goals? Or maybe I need to scratch and change it, because maybe I might have, when I started, I wanted to be an NBA official, just using a quick example. When I realized what it took to be one, I said, I don't want to do that. I want to do something else. And I've been ultra accomplished in those areas that I wanted to, that I didn't even imagine, because I, set some goals and had faith in myself to accomplish them.
Excellent. I absolutely right. And I often think about the kids that are told you can't do that, or the negative reinforcement, instead of the positive reinforcement. But also adults, who do you think you are? you can't do that, and that happens a lot of times from the people closest to us.
Mm-hmm.
You got to persevere through that, and then, I think I put a quote up a while ago that said, they asked me, why are you doing that? Now they're asking me how you did it, because now they say, well, they didn't believe you. But I had family members told me, I went to college in Chicago. They're like, man, you can't go to Chicago. They don't kill you. I'm like, really? I've been spending my summers in Chicago since I was 12. Okay. But that's their mindset.
Right.
And I had that ever since as a little boy. I just know that I was just determined. I could not, there was something in me that said you can't settle for mediocre. Being, job at the university. I got a job after the military as an editorial like the rest of my family did, but I was so miserable. There was no way I could do that. Or, somebody said, why don't you be a truck driver? Why don't you work in a factory? No, now they're saying a whole different song. But point to all that is the faith in yourself to keep pushing through, no matter who's in your ear telling you anything contrary to that. So, Tanya, I know you got something to put on that.
I always got something.
You always got something.
So in the context of the 7 principles in Nguzo Saba, and we look at faith. There's the piece of of those who we look up to, or those who guide us. And in a broader sense, it's our creator, but it's also looking at our leaders. So who are our leaders in our communities? Our parents, our teachers, our faith leaders, that we would be able to look at them to guidance. And it's also about the fervent belief that our struggle is righteous, that what we're going towards, we will have a victory in. And that the direction we're going in is the correct direction. And when we think of leadership, sometimes we think about the righteousness of someone else who's leading us or being able to lead up to their example. But we also have to think about, are we becoming those people that others can look up to? So if you are a parent, can your children have faith in what it is that the direction that you're going to lead them? If you are a community business owner, are people able to follow your lead in terms of the direction that you would take them? So are we creating opportunities for people to be able to have faith in us? And do we have, and are we able to kind of put faith in those in our community who are in the position that we should be able to follow? And so, I think faith really is just the pinnacle of really wrapping up those 7 principles, because we have to believe in one another. We have to believe in the path that our Creator has put us on collectively for any of this to work. Because if we don't believe in one another, if we don't believe in our Creator and why we were put here, we will be divided, and we can't do any of this.
Wow, that's real good. That'll preach right there.
And when that interview that you did with Walter Sims, I tagged my husband because that gave me life. Because when we go back to that piece of purpose and what he said about his officiating, you either you said or Dr. Sims said you can't quit your purpose.
Yeah.
So if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you really can't quit. You might want to quit, you might want to walk away, but you can't. So that's what it really is when it looks at what we're trying to do in our communities. It's difficult, and sometimes you just want to be for self because it's easier. In some certain ways, it's easier. It's less of a responsibility, it's less of a burden.
And I mean, we have to get over the mindset of what's being easy, because nothing works that is easy. Nothing ever. If it's easy, you're not going to appreciate it.
You sure won't.
Okay.
Sure won't.
that you just helped me with to take away is, am I setting the example for future leaders? But am I leading by example so other people, because there's somebody watching, everybody watching.
Sure.
All right. Are you, and that translates in a whole lot of things. I mean, I think about how you conduct yourself in business, how you conduct yourself in the public, how you conduct yourself on social media.
Yes.
Somebody is watching you, and you're either a good example or you're a bad example. There's no other option. Okay? There's no other option, and to be mindful of that. Be mindful of what kind of example you're creating. So, wow. Actually, we always took a whole hour, but it was worth it because I think
it was definitely,
it's definitely all this stuff is very relevant, especially right now. It's very relevant. And so I want to thank you guys for coming on, taking time out, sharing what you have. Where can people learn more about these? I'm not going to try to pronounce the organization. So you tell them where, like your website and how to get a hold of you guys, how to learn any more, Facebook, whatever you would like to share.
So you can get a hold of us. You can either email us it literally is email the Nguzo Saba 365 @gmail.com. You can find us on the web at www.thenguzosaba365.org. Where we are most active is on Facebook. So if you look up the Nguzo Saba 365, we are on Facebook. We have an active Facebook page. And once you're on the page, we do actually have a private Facebook group. It is not a group of 10,000 people. It is a very intimate, small group where we have conversations that are relevant to our community about what's happening, honest conversations. You can even find us on TikTok. Yes, we have a TikTok, the Nguzo Saba 365 on TikTok, and we have a very small presence on Instagram because I am not an Instagrammer. I'm trying to get better. Again, that's the Nguzo Saba 365 on Instagram.
And just for those of you watching, it is scrolling in the footer of the video. So check it out. Check it out. And these principles, like I said, they apply to every aspect of your life, and you'll be the better for it. And I will be more mindful of them myself, and trying to implement them in all aspects of my life and share them with others.
And
yes,
thank you so much for allowing us to have some space on the Business Source today. This has been wonderful. This has been wonderful.
All right, I wait to hear from you guys about your entrepreneur desires.
Yes.
We will be contacting you because we it's too expensive for us to be broke as well. So.
Together, especially.
I'm not saying we are broke. I'm just saying
it
is expensive to be broke.
Yes.
I'll say that.
Very expensive. All right. Well, thank you guys again. And to our viewers, hey, thank you guys for watching. Hope we gave you some value. And as always, stay tuned next week where I have another exciting guest. Watch out for the flyer, but it'll be next Friday at 5 p.m. Central Time. And thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.